Hi and welcome to RCKicks. On today's show, this. Now, between you and me, honestly, got a little bit of a problem with this one. It's a bit of a weird one, and that's this from Rlaarlo. It's the AK-787. Now, the reason it's still in its box is because it came a little bit late, and everyone's already released all their videos on it, their unboxing videos, their running videos. And by the time I received it, was basically the day it was all released and everyone put out their videos. So I was kind of behind the 8 ball on that one, and I had other things that were planned, so we had to get through that. So it's been sitting in the box waiting for me to get around to this. Now, as I've had more time, I've looked through their range that they're offering this car, and there's a few things that kind of make me think, what? Especially with this version. Now, the versions that are available, there's a 1/10 metal version, which is this version, and that's $199. Yes, you can get all this for $199. So from a price point of view, they've hit it nail right on the head. But when you start looking at the other parts of the range that they offer, it kind of leaves this one a little bit out in the cold. So there's a 1/10 carbon version, which is a ready to run, which is $100 more. Carbon chassis. Then they offer a 1/10 carbon fiber roller, no electronics, for $199. And then they offer a 1/10 metal version for $169. So you can get this one that I've got without the electronics for $30 less. Well, you're not going to do that. So that writes off the entry level one. Why would you buy that? Even if you're going to fit your own electronics, the motor, you might as well just get it for that $30, take it out, and you've got yourself some electronics that you can use in other things. So that writes off the roller. Then you look at the metal version that we've got here. Now, the big issue with this is it only takes one motor. You can't do dual motor. Why would anybody buy this version who's looking for a speed run car? You just spend the same amount of money, get the carbon one, you can put your own electronics in it, pick your own motors, and down the line you'll be able to put 2 motors, 2 batteries, 2 ESCs in the carbon version, which is the same price as the one that I've got. So really, no one who's into speed running would ever purchase this version. If that's the case, who's going to buy this version? Anyway, let's just park that thought and just have a look at what you actually get for that $199 in the metal version that's an RTR. Now, there's tons of videos out on this car and going into loads more detail, but you get a reasonably decent transmitter, you get a 3300 milliamp 2S LiPo battery, hard case, which is fine, you get a manual, you get a few decals, and you also get a bottle opener, which is random, and you get the car itself. So yes, the car from a looks point of view, pretty good. It's got a rear spoiler that goes up and down if you want to from the settings remotely. The colour livery that you get on this one I quite like. Obviously there's 2 liveries available for you. I went with this one because it's a little bit different, as everybody else piled onto the other version. Bit of a shame that the windows are blacked out. I would rather see them smoked. That would be a nicer look, but obviously that's how they're mass producing these ones. The scale is pretty good, but it's not perfect for a proper car. These sides are way too deep along here, so that kind of skews the scale look of it a little bit, but I can see why they had to do it, because they had to get this body to sit over the actual car itself, and especially with the dual motor ones where the battery sits upright, that's why it's so squared off and goes down quite deep versus the actual real car that this was based on. I do like that the pins are attached, but it would be nice if it was a clip down system and they could do away with the body posts completely. That would be nice to give it, you know, a bit slightly cleaner look. I do like the headlights that you get. This is, you know, adds another level of detail. Totally pointless for any sort of speedrun car, but they're there anyway. You get 3 lights at the back. You get a brake light and 2 sort of indicator lights. So overall, pretty nice. You will definitely be able to modify this rear wing if you change your transmitter receiver and have it that when you brake you can have this flip up, as well as if you change the servo horn on the back, I'm pretty sure you can get it to move way more than it actually does. Maybe we'll do that in a future video. I do like these front aero rims. They are really nice. The rims on the front and the back are exactly the same. It's just a plate that sits over the front. So I like that look. Not so much the rear bling. This sort of chrome look looks a bit naff. Personally, it would have been better to do aero on both sides. And when I took it to the track, a lot of people commented that they liked the aero, but weren't too keen on the rear ones as well. One aspect that's a real pain is the amount of clearance you've got on the front wheels. This is way too high. This car would look so much nicer when it's lower, but there's not a lot you can really do about it. So I had a little bit of a play around and messed around with the drop screws. So I've managed to bring it down a little bit to make it look a little bit better. But it is a big compromise. You shouldn't really do it. But also it starts to really compromise the front suspension. Now, to bring it down to a level that I would really like it, you're basically locking the front suspension completely, and you just don't want that. But when you put it on the shelf, if you want to admire it, you can get it a little bit better. So you can see Rlaarlo has put quite a lot of effort into making this car look good. The problem is, if you're trying to lean towards more of a shelf queen or just an out and out looking car, there's just a lot better available. And yeah, I don't really know how Rlaarlo is going to compete with something like this. It's just so stunning, and the scale is actually correct. When you put it over there, you can see how much the sides have been compromised to actually be able to cope with the chassis with all the electronics. Whereas if you look at, say, the Tamiya, it's done based on the scale of the body and then everything's put underneath. But from a speedrun point of view, this is going to absolutely murder that. Electronics that you get in this are pretty decent. The motor combo that you get in here, the plastics are good. Now, I was a bit worried that if this is designed as a speedrun car, can you actually drive it anywhere else? I mean, a speedrun car is designed to go straight line, flat out as fast as you can. But that's a massive compromise on driving. So would I recommend this if you just want to drive it? Not just take it to the widest open space you can find, do a couple of speed runs, look at your time and then go home again. What happens if you actually want to use it as an RC outside in the street, at the park, or wherever you've got some tarmac? So we took it to the track when we went to the pits last week, and I drove it around their track. And that is a big telltale, because a speedrun car around a track is going to be terrible. Right. Was absolutely epic. Yeah, it drives around the track brilliantly. It's not perfect, we can tweak it a little bit, but yes, you can drive it as an RC. You could just take it out and have fun with it. It's not too far down the speedrun route that you can't enjoy it as an RC car. So it has that going for it as well. So am I going to have to eat humble pie at the end of this video? Well, before we do that, let's take it out for a bit of a speed run it on 2S and 3S, totally stock, not with the speed gear in it, and see how fast it goes. And then we'll make a decision on whether I was totally wrong at the beginning of the video. So it's a beautiful October morning, sun is shining, we're out again to do a Rlaarlo speed test. This is what we're going to be using. At least it's dry and sunny, a little bit narrower but no curbs, so definitely the best place around here. So we're going to kick off with a 2S using the standard battery. I've just set the GPS, so we've got to get the top on, fire it up, and let's see what kind of runs it does. This is totally stock. Right, you're going to film with your I need to true it up, so it's going off a bit to the right. Fraction to the right. This should be pretty easy. Not expecting much, we'll just warm up the tyres a bit. Yeah, it's much easier to drive than the other one. So that's pretty much flat out. So let's have a look and see what speeds it did. Look at that bird of prey. Whoa. And what was the speed we did? Let's have a look. So 26 mile an hour on 2S. Let's stick a 3S in it and see how it goes. That was pretty slow, but it was very stable, so happy with that. Right, let's stick the big powerful. This will make a lot of difference. DVD. Unfortunately, I have to use an adapter, which is never good. Right. Shall we see what that does?
Yeah.
So on 3S I was getting 39 mile an hour, no problems at all. Tyres are nice and warm. So in conclusion, have I changed my mind, and was I actually wrong at the beginning of the video? Yes, it is actually a really good RC car. Not just a speedrun car, but quite a good RC car to take out and drive around. Now the entry-level one that I've got here, speed-wise, is not bonkers until you put the extra gearing in. So out of the box, if you're new, this is actually quite a good way to go, or you're someone who doesn't want to do just speed runs, you actually want to enjoy a pretty nippy car out of the box for $200, you can't really go wrong. I still stand by my statement that if you are thinking about getting into doing speed runs, I would lean towards probably getting the carbon fiber roller. Because for $200, that's a pretty epic car, and then you could maybe go and buy your own brushless motor and ESC, and then later on buy a duplicate set, and then really push the boat out when you've got 2 motors and 2 ESCs. But if you go this route, you can actually put the carbon chassis in it. There is possible to get the upgrade down the line. That's going to cost you more money, obviously, but it is a way that you could step up into that later on if you just want to start out with just a ready to run without messing around with electronics and things like that. But I will take my hat off to Rlaarlo and say to them, this is probably the best one I've had from them so far, and I think they are definitely moving in the right direction, especially for $200. Also, my son drove this when we were out at the pits last week, and he loved driving it because it was really easy. So, yeah, looks like I was wrong. Thanks very much. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.